Check this out. I've got this archive-looking file, but it has a JPG extension, which we usually see for image files. However, from the thumbnail, this file looks more like an archive, like a zipped file or something like that. But if I right-click on it and go to Properties, you can see it's a Windows executable. Now, if I run this by simply double-clicking it, I see this very innocent picture of an orange cat. So I look at the picture and think that nothing suspicious happened. But if I check my Discord now, you can see we've got something in our channel. These are basically the redacted tokens for my Steam account from my browser. As you can see, we've got 3 different ones, but these are redacted. I've copied this last one, and now if I open a new private tab in my Brave browser and open the Steam website, you can see we're asked to log in via our credentials. But if I open the developer tools in my tab, go to Application, go to Cookies, edit any one of these, change the cookie name to this, and paste that long token as its value, then close the developer tools and reload the page, you can see we're logged in as this user. Now we're basically logged in as this user, and we can do whatever we want. You might be thinking that we can't do much here because we're not logged into the Steam client, it's just the browser. So we can't even download games and play them, but we're wrong there. If I go to account details, you can see that we can view the purchase history and a lot of other information about the user. But the worst thing is that we can see the wallet balance, and even worse is that if we click on this option where we can set up the payment method, it takes us to a new page and prompts us to log in again. But if you remember, we have this checkout token in that Discord channel. If we redo the steps, open the developer tools, go to Application, change any cookie name to this, paste that checkout value here, and reload the page, you can see that now we can update the saved payment method, which means we can probably view the card details. I'm not sure about that because I haven't tried to add a payment method here, but anyway, you can see what a hacker can do with your account using your session cookies if they get them somehow. This is scary because usually when we log in using our credentials, Steam sends a 2-factor authentication code to our email, but here we logged in without needing any code. Today we're going to talk more about it, but before that, if you're new here, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more amazing videos like this. Anyways, before we move on to all that, how I created the archive-looking file and stole cookies from my browser, let us understand Steam cookies a bit. You can always skip this part if you're not interested in learning more about these cookies, but it's recommended. Alright, so I've already uploaded 2 videos about how hackers can log into Roblox and Discord accounts using tokens and cookies, but this one is going to be a bit different because cookies work a bit differently for Steam accounts. So, in Steam, we have this cookie named Steam Login Secure, which is one of the most important authentication cookies used by Steam's website. The key of this cookie, or in simple words, the name of this cookie, looks something like this, and in its value, it starts with a unique 64-bit Steam ID. It is public, so anyone can obtain it by visiting your profile. After the Steam ID, we have 2 pipe characters, which are mostly encoded, and after that, we have a very long, cryptographically random and secure token. Now, this is how Steam tokens look, but I also mentioned that they work a bit differently than Roblox and Discord tokens. Steam tokens are different for different subdomains and domains. Like, if you remember when we first logged in, the URL was something like this, the domain name here is this, and the store is the subdomain. And if you remember, we had a cookie with a store label in our Discord. The store subdomain cookie won't work on the Steam community domain, and we have to use the Steam community account token of the user to log in there. That is why, when we were viewing the payment details, it asked us to log in again, and we logged in using the checkout token. I hope you understood my point here. Also remember, if you're not logged into a specific Steam domain in your browser, you might not get any cookie for that specific subdomain. Anyways, now let's move on to how hackers can steal these cookies and what that archive file was that I used to run the stealer at the start of the video. Just like in my other videos, I used a Python script in this video as well to extract tokens from browser SQLite files. It might sound very technical, but honestly it's not. It's actually pretty simple. At the very top of the script, I'm importing a bunch of Python modules. Each one plays an important role here. Currently, this script works only for 3 Chromium-based browsers, Brave, Edge, and Chrome, but other Chromium-based browsers can be added easily. Now, when you're extracting anything from a browser's SQLite database, it's very important that the browser is completely closed. If the browser is running, the files are usually locked. So the first function in the script runs before everything else and closes all active browser windows. After that, we have a function to retrieve the master key. The master key is basically a special key used to decrypt cookies. These browsers use the Windows Data Protection API to encrypt and decrypt sensitive data, and the key itself is stored on the same system. Because of that, it's not very difficult to locate and decrypt it. Once we have the master key, we use it to create a function that decrypts the cookies. The decrypted output usually contains a lot of unprintable characters, so the next function cleans that up and returns a readable token. The next function does most of the heavy lifting. It goes through the browsers defined in the browser list, uses all the functions we talked about earlier, extracts any tokens it finds, and returns them. The final function simply sends the extracted tokens to a webhook, nothing too special there. Then we reach the main part of the script where we execute the grab browser function for each browser in our list. If any tokens are found, they're added to a dictionary. After that, we check whether the dictionary is empty or not. If tokens exist, they're printed one by one. For this video, I've redacted the tokens before printing them. Now, if I run the script, you can see that it prints out the tokens along with their labels, like checkout for the checkout subdomain, help for the help subdomain, and store for the store subdomain. I wasn't logged into the Steam community domain, otherwise you would have seen the Steam community token here as well. This script works only for browsers. We could try writing one for the Steam client too, but it authenticates differently, so I'm not completely sure about that. Also, in the original script, instead of printing the tokens, there's a line that sends all of them directly to the webhook. Now let's talk about how that archive was created. First, I created a Windows executable using PyInstaller in Python 3. If you're not familiar with it, PyInstaller is a Python module that lets you convert Python scripts into standalone Windows executables so they can run without Python being installed on the system. PyInstaller works well, but it tends to produce larger executables. There's another tool called Nuitka, which converts Python code into native C and then compiles it. This usually results in a much smaller executable compared to PyInstaller. Once I had the executable ready, I found a JPG image of a cat and placed both files in the same folder. This is just a social engineering trick to make the file look harmless and convince the user to run it. I saw this technique in another video. I'll link it in the description. Next, I selected both the JPG image and the executable and archived them using WinRAR. If you don't have WinRAR, you can download it easily. When the archive window opens, we check the SFX archive option. Then we go to Advanced, click on SFX options, and configure a few things. In the setup section, we first enter the name of the JPG file, followed by the executable. In the Modes tab, we select this option, and under Silent Mode, we check Hide Start dialog. In the Updates tab, we select Extract and Update Files, and for Overwrite mode, we choose Overwrite All Files. After that, we click OK, then OK again, and the archive is created. For the file extension, we used RTLO. I explained this technique in detail in the video I mentioned earlier, so if you're interested, check it out through the link in the description. That's pretty much everything for this video. If you found it useful, consider liking the video and subscribing for more content like this, and if you have any questions, there's a link to our Discord server in the description. Make sure to join it as well.